Hey, welcome everyone to the Story Trading Weekly Meetup. We got a couple update presentations today on VIP stocks, Smith Micro, SMSI. So before we do that, though, let's go ahead and go through some logistics and housekeeping notes. There you see our disclaimer. Story Trading is not an investment advisor. Investing in securities involves significant risk of loss. We are recording this event will be provided to our VIP members for a period of 7 days, and then we'll put that up on YouTube next week. First, before we get into the program for tonight, just want to let you guys know, if you haven't seen it, we are now in a regular cadence, hopefully, going forward, getting articles published into the financial wire services through our partner Benzinga every time we have a VIP presentation. If the speakers decide to kind of help us out with an article. So in this case, we had Kevin Crawford give us a draft article on BTSI. We made it pretty, wrapped the bow on it, talked about our 4 pillars, submitted to Benzinga, and it hit the news feeds. Same with Rel, Richardson Electronics, even though we had a typo there in the title. But in any case, that's exciting for story trading. It's a great way for us to get the word out about the stocks that we are doing due diligence on at Story Trading. And it's also a way for our contributors to raise their profile and get followers to their Twitter or whatever it may be. So tonight we're going to be getting an update on 2 VIP picks. Now we got SMSI, Smith Micro, last trade $4.05. Man, that image doesn't seem centered, really bothering me. Maybe it is, I don't know. But $4.05, market cap $221 million. This VIP pick has been up 5.19% since it was initially presented on a Zoom. Now, a lot of us were in this stock. I would say a majority of our community have been with us for a while. We got in like around the $2 range since Story Trading got involved. And at the peak, it's been up 110%. So it's come back down a lot. We're officially tracking this as a community pick because so many different people have taken the lead on Smith Micro in our community. James Ticknor for the last several months has kind of taken over as our community manager in the SMSI research group. You can see the long-term chart here. These are weekly candles going back many years. I put up the weekly chart, and as mentioned before with QC, the daily candle still worked well on the moving averages, but SMSI is in the same boat with a lot of other stocks where the daily moving averages have broken, and you got to switch to the weekly candles and the weekly moving averages to see where your support levels are. It's trying to hang on here and possibly turn around, fighting to hold that 200-week moving average support. We know we've had tons of presentations on this. Man, we had a lot of drama in August around this with a presentation from the company executive implying there was going to be some sort of product launch that month, which didn't happen. So lots of ups and downs, and you can see that on the chart. And there's been a lot of chatter in the community recently. So in our effort to understand sentiment, catalyst fundamentals, and technicals, we've invited James to the show to let us know about the updates and what people are excited about lately. I've been seeing a lot of volume in the last couple of weeks on SMSI in our chat rooms. James, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you?
Good. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So what's new? What has happened recently, and what do you think is going to happen next?
All right. So I think it will be easiest to state what my conclusion is and then provide the justification for that conclusion. I'll try to be as transparent as possible, but there are some things that can't be mentioned, such as specific sources as to how we know the information, but the information is valid. So the conclusion that I have come to, as well as a number of people in our community, is that the T-Mobile SafePath will launch or is likely to launch by the end of this month. And the reasoning for that conclusion was initially one of my sources had indicated to me that the meetings for family products had stopped, but would resume at their location on or around February 14th on Valentine's Day. That in and of itself didn't necessarily mean much other than that they were not getting information from higher ups related to these kind of offerings. However, that information was later supplemented by another member in our community whose source, had stated with better visibility than my source did that the offering was likely to come out and begin the rollout later this month. So what I believe is going to happen is that it will come out later this month. Once the meetings for my source start to resume on or around February 14th is when they'll get the training for it, with a rollout probably a week or two after that. So that's what I believe is going to happen based on what I've been hearing and the information that's been gathered. And I would note that for my source, as far as its reliability, the source that I had did correctly identify the time frame or the roundabout date for some sort of confirmation that the SafePath was actually at T-Mobile and going to come out, and that would be around in December when they release their Timex watches and offerings. So I try not to question him too much because he's proven his reliability, but I look forward to having more information on or around February 14th.
Okay. All right, great. So that's hopefully, well, you know what, I'm going to be a little bit of a skeptic on this because I feel like it's been like, oh gosh, so many false alarms with different sources, a lot of them coming from interactions with customer service representatives or just other representatives of T-Mobile. Yeah, we're launching this product on this date or that date or whatever it may be. Even with Sprint, there are so many false alarms. So I'm personally, I'm not sure I'm going to believe it till I see it. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Right, and that's something that's also has stuck in my mind as well, because it has been over the past couple years that we've been doing this dance with Smith Micro. That information that we had gotten previously was either inaccurate or in the case of a certain executive just didn't materialize the way that things had thought.
Yeah, that certain executive lost me a lot of money. I usually don't do options too much, but because of that webinar, I mean, now I forgot his name, but do you remember his name? Ethan?
Yeah, Eaton.
Aton something. Oh man, yeah. I'm like, you know what? I don't do options unless I have high conviction. I'm like, this is coming straight out of the horse's mouth, and I went into a bunch of options. I lost a lot of money that month. So thank you, Aton.
Right. So yeah. So with bearing that in mind, it's natural to have a bit of skepticism, probably even more so than one might ordinarily give a stock. However, that's also why I mentioned the past reliability of my particular source. I'm not sure about the other source that I had mentioned, but I do think that at this point, examining who is speaking and their history of reliability is somewhat important. So I place a bit of weight on this. It still has some connect the dots kind of a feel to it, and things will just have to materialize. But the best that we can do is just operate off of the information that we were given. Though I will say it is a very good indicator that two different sources kind of independently collide with each other like this.
Yeah, that's great.
So, while I am skeptic, this does speak to me a bit more optimistically than past customer service representative interactions.
That's great. I want to ask your opinion on, let's say it does happen, right? And they launch around mid-February or end of February. Do you see this being different than the past Sprint launches in that the Sprint launches took a number of quarters until it really ramped up, right? They started in certain number of stores. There was a difference there between the corporate owned stores versus the franchise stores. And I don't know if T-Mobile's the same way, do you know? Or so T-Mobile's a much bigger company. Do you think there's a possibility here that it's taking longer because they're going to have a much better unified big splash on launch? Or do you think it's going to be another several quarters like it was when Sprint launched?
Well, it goes without saying, of course, no one can be absolutely certain, but what I suspect will happen is that it will be somewhat similar, but not to the same degree as the Sprint effect whenever it first launched, and then there was the ramp. Number one, because T-Mobile is about what, 5 times bigger than Sprint, so the revenue, even though it may have the kind of same ramp as far as customer penetration within that particular company, it's 5 times that penetration from the start. So the revenue should be really good, but I think that people are just pessimistic about this company, confluenced by the downturn in the market. Not entirely for sure, because institutions have been getting in on this, perhaps not to the same degree that they would if this launched happened. So I think that it's probably going to take a couple quarters, but I don't see it taking very long. I really don't, because a lot of the pessimism was that T-Mobile was all speculation, and then once the T-Mobile announcement happened, you know, nothing really happened with the stock. So I think there are people who are waiting to see the money hit before they actually go through and make their positions.
Okay, I'm actually looking up institutional ownership as you're speaking. We have our Y charts here, and I got a comment from David in our chat room here saying he thinks he has a third source backing that up as well with the late February. So triangulating with multiple sources, that's great. Let me share my screen here. So no, I don't think this means anything, but I was just curious since you brought it up. The institutional ownership here, man, how come not scroll? Is that it? That's the bottom of it, the chart. It looks like it's down a little bit. I don't know how accurate this is, but 45% is what I'm seeing here right now.
Right, and I think too that even though it may or it may not shoot up right away, I don't think that it would go down. I think that people would buy up the shares before it went down, because I don't know. It's a gut feeling I have. I'm hesitant to elaborate too much, but I would not imagine that if this actually launched at T-Mobile that it would go down. I just am not confident that it would go up, at least immediately. But based on the projections that I've seen others and my colleagues have, for a long-term play, I think most of us know it's as good as a guarantee that you could possibly get in the stock market. For medium term, I still think it's a good bet, but I'm not entirely confident that the market will suddenly turn optimistic on it, given the current condition that the overall market is in, and also what we've seen before with the past Sprint rollout.
Okay, cool. I do have one final question for you. In the meantime, just a reminder, if anyone from the audience has a question, you can put it in chat. You can raise your hand. You can unmute yourself and jump in if you'd like. So my final question is, do you have any further insight? And this may have been shared in the community, but I have not been so closely monitoring the SMSI room. What's the best data we have on the contract terms? Because the contract terms with SMSI was great, that with Sprint was great. And, for a long time now, this really hasn't been a question of will T-Mobile launch? It's been a question of, well, when will they launch, but what are the contract terms? Any insights into that?
Well, we haven't seen anything definitive as of yet, although there was, and the exact wording I would have to go back through the chat and look at, but there was a confirmation that the results of the deal were like Sprint. Like,
yes,
of
I
course,
heard that.
is an ambiguous term. It could be like Sprint in some ways, but unlike it in different ways with any sort of area within that contract. But I believe it was in reference to pricing. And if I recall correctly, the Sprint pricing was 50% that Smith Micro would get of whatever money was put out. So I think what the consensus is for an approximation until we actually get confirmation or more clarity around the ambiguity, I think it's 40% is what the general consensus is based on the like Sprint comment that we had to confirm it. So we'll know in due time, but that's the best that we have right now. Either way, it looks really optimistic. And it was nice to get some sort of confirmation with respect to pricing.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be awesome if it is like that. I have a comment here in the chat. Bill said it was comparable to Sprint deal. Sprint was 50-50, as you said. And yeah, it's just saying, backing up an opinion here, matching what you're saying. I think the contract will not be any worse than 60-40. And it makes sense it'll be a little lower because of the volume, much higher volume at T-Mobile than at Sprint. So man, that'll be great. Maybe
Yeah, and I
we'll
think that's a fair trade-off. You get a 50% or 5 times more access to a customer base and only take a 10% hit on a 50% take. That's not bad.
well, you know what? I'm looking forward. Maybe we can replicate what happened last time. And, the real money in our community was made. Of course, if you get an announcement, there'll be a bump in the stock. But the big money in our community was made when we were tracking app rankings for, a good several months before earnings were announced that were a result of those app rankings, right? And it wasn't just app rankings. We were doing channel checks. We were calling stores. We had a spreadsheet going, and we we're estimating overall sales. So it was awesome because that was an opportunity for a community to like get in before earnings. And I think that quarter they did like 10 cents EPS, which like crushed the market expectations, and the stock was up like 60% in a day, something to that effect. Don't hold me exactly to those numbers, but so I'm thinking there will be an opportunity so that the money, it's not all about, you have to be, I have a position now, right? But it's not my largest position yet, right? I think there will be plenty of time to get confirmation, to get this launched, to see the app rankings, and in between confirmation that the app rankings are going up, our channel checks are doing well, and that earnings report, right? We may have the same dynamic there where you can make a lower risk investment and having much more information to lower your downside there. So I'm looking forward to that dynamic again and collaborating with the community on those channel checks.
Absolutely. And with T-Mobile's advertising, we should actually start seeing things as well, rather than just having to, do deep dives. Hopefully the Smith product will be plastered for all to see. I do want to comment though, there was a comment made in chat just a moment ago that reminded me. The T-Mobile pricing had been confirmed at $10 versus the old Sprint $7. So, even a 40/60 plan would see about this revenue.
Oh, that's nice. That's good to know. And, I actually am still probably being charged for Sprint Tracker. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I think I was paying $5. Oh, is it $7? I thought I was paying $5. Maybe I'm paying $7. $7 was maybe for SafePath. I think I had the tracker only plan or something for $5. And I never got around to canceling it since COVID hit. So they got like $120 free for me right now, 2 years of that. It had a lot of bugs, and I'm very kind of encouraged in a way that it's taking a long time to launch, because I'm thinking T-Mobile has higher standards maybe than Sprint and better quality assurance processes. And I don't know, I wasn't very happy with some of the performance. I don't want to say bugs, but the performance of the accuracy of the GPS and the real timeness, of the real timeness of the notifications, right? The timeliness of the notifications. There were lots of like issues like that, which I'm like, I wasn't really happy with. So I'm going to test it out. Yeah, I'm a Sprint customer. I have to see. In fact, I don't know, like my phone actually still says Sprint. Isn't that crazy? It still says Sprint LTE up there. So, but yeah, once this becomes available, I guess I'll make my way over to the T-Mobile store and see. I don't even know if my tracker still works. I got to charge it up and see what's going on. But hopefully I'll be able to do some demonstrations for everyone here, and we'll have a much higher quality product than last time.
Absolutely.
Is the tracker, but the tracker, this is not with the tracker, right? They did the tracker directly with CoolPad or something, right? This is just the SafePath.
Right. It's going to be just with SafePath. From my understanding, I don't want to misspeak. I'd have to get confirmation on it, but I think there was talk about the tracker having its own app. but something's also nagging at me saying that there was a possibility for the SafePath to be an all-in-one hub to be able to do something with that. I'm going to have to get confirmation on it. I won't say more because I don't want to mislead anybody or spread false information.
Right. So I have to get a new SIM card, it's saying here. What happens if I don't? I never got a notice from them. I mean, I don't know how that works. Will I get better? I guess I'll get T-Mobile towers instead of Sprint towers. I don't know how this is gonna work, but I'll eventually make my way over to a T-Mobile store. We'll see. I'll probably wait till I update my phone, and then we'll get it all squared away. But thank you for those notes, guys, on the SIM card. Appreciate it. All right. So, any other final comments you want to share with the community on SMSI?
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah,
Actually,
I
I
mean,
did. What's that?
I was just gonna say, I mean, I really hate telling people what to do,
Yeah.
as far as giving recommendation, because I'm always terrified that someone's gonna ruin their entire life because of a decision, or me telling them something. But
Yeah.
I mean, geez Louise, like I've been following this company for what feels to me like a long time. I'm sure others have been tracking it for even longer, but this is just an absolutely amazing opportunity and company. I think this was actually the first company I looked at when I started investing, and I've not seen anything that's been in a position like it. And I know that there are others with 20 plus years experience in looking at the market, that I rely on, that are my mentors, that state similar things, that this is almost a unicorn. And I'm just super excited about it, just seeing the massive potential even beyond the three carriers. Because I mean, right now we're just waiting. We're just waiting on these three carriers. Once these three carriers are locked, their eyes are going to be looking over to Europe and overseas. And once they have the top three largest carriers in the U.S., when they have those conferences in Barcelona and all those different places, and they say, yeah, we got the top three carriers in the US comprising 300 million people, which is comparable to the European population. I think actually we have quite a lot more people than Europe. They're gonna be impressed, and they're gonna want to expand over there. So I'm just super excited for the future. And I've been trying really hard not to go down rabbit holes with overseas until we launch here, but this is pretty much a done deal. And right now it's just a bit of a waiting game. There's very little that we could produce. I think that would be revelation worthy or revolutionary. It's just a lock. It's just a sit on money if you want kind of thing. And I'm encouraging people, go take a seat.
Cool. Well, I did add a little more this past week. It was the first time I added more SMSI in many months. I'm not sure why. It's you know what? It's the chatter. I saw the chatter. That's why I invited you, right? I saw all the chatter in the rooms on SMSI. I'm like, something's heating up. I looked at the chart. I saw the 200-week moving average support. I'm like, it's gotten knocked down a lot with the market, and maybe a time to step in a little bit. So I did add to my position, and I did do it at the ask, as David says, buy at the ask. Because those of you who know me know I have no patience. I'm not going to sit there and monitor my thing all day where it's going off my money. Did the bid hit? Do I have to raise my bid? Come on, especially if you're talking about like a unicorn or something like that, a longer term pick. Like, what difference does it make if you buy it, 2 cents more expensive? Give me a break. I always buy at the ask. That's just me. All right.
Yeah, and if you recall, there's a certain somebody that says don't pinch pennies when don't buy for pennies difference when it could cost you dollars.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's my attitude. So all right, James, that was an awesome update. I appreciate that. Let's share a couple logistical notes on here. We have the SMSI research group, of which you're an admin of over the story trading community. So you can continue the collaboration over there. We got lots of additional events coming up. Man, so many events. I can't even mention them all. So go over our website. You can see all your events coming up. And hopefully these were timely updates at inflection points for the companies. And we're all going to make a lot of money here in the coming months. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you. And for the rest of you, make sure to follow us on YouTube and on Twitter at StoryTrading. We're going to stop our recording and hang on for the VIP members, and we'll talk a little bit about stocks and trade of the week. Thank you.